Welcome to Oz the Spectrum Podcast, your go-to destination for all things hip-hop. Join us as we dive into the colorful world of hip-hop music and culture, exploring the diverse interviews, music reviews, and in-depth discussions that showcase the full spectrum of hip-hop. Tune in and turn up the volume, because this is where the beat drops and the culture never stop.
Hold the classics.
Hitting you with that boom bap hip-hop flavor. You heard? Today's official DJ, the Golden Child, taking you all the way back in the day. Keeping it grown and sexy for the ladies.
Hey.
Turn down for what? You know who it is. Ooh, it's about to get hot in here. The Hypest Mix Show is on your radio. Hip-hop and R&B.
You're in the mix on the Spectrum Podcast presented by K.L.P. Entertainment.
Welcome to the Spectrum Podcast, where we dive deep into the kaleidoscope of human experience, exploring the diverse and multifaceted stories that shape our world. This is the Spectrum Podcast, where every shade adds to the brilliance of our shared narrative. Drake receives invite to Michael Rubin's star-studded white party. Despite the hefty allegations and claims thrown Drake's way during his battle with Kendrick Lamar, it seems like he doesn't have to fight much for his right to party. Moreover, he recently posted the invite, a one-of-one by George Condo, to Michael Rubin's white party this year, which is a massive celebrity gathering that he seems quite excited for. Went from one-bedroom condo to one-of-one condo at Michael Rubin, mind-blown emoji. The Toronto superstar captioned a picture of his invite on his Instagram story. Of course, a lot of people reacted to this news by bringing up some of those aforementioned allegations, while others just want to see the whole thing blow over already. Meanwhile, other rappers like Lil Yachty are giving their take on that whole K.L.P feud, but also on how they don't think Drake will take much of a hit as a result. Drake was deemed a loser in this battle before it started, he expressed on his A Safe Place podcast. Because people don't like him, and haven't, and he's won for a very long time. And he sat at the top of the throne. Honestly, respectfully, I think he still sits on top of the throne, Lil Yachty continued. Even if opinionated masses would say that Kendrick won, I don't think that people are going to stop listening to Drake and Drake's career is going to flush, you know? I said to Drake, I told him, I don't feel like you won or lost. Rappers have lost and then lost everything. I think Drake will still be in everyone's rap Spotify at the end of the year at the top. He can still drop hits and it will still control the summer. I think that Kendrick made very smart moves, and I don't think Drake would disagree. We'll see whether this white party invite is a solid indicator of just how fine Drake will be after this rap battle, which honestly shouldn't surprise anyone. After all, despite people having mixed feelings about the beef itself, they still hold respect for both him and Kendrick Lamar as artists. It would be shocking if either MC truly falls out of public favor completely, although we guess we can't rule out the impossibilities. After all, who would have thought that this whole thing would end with a white party to celebrate?
You're in the mix on the Spectrum Podcast presented by K.L.P. Entertainment.
All right. I review a lot of products, right? I've talked about hundreds, maybe thousands of products at this point. But as many reviews as I've made about products, there are way more products out there in the world that exist. So the process of selecting which products to even review in the first place is like an art form to itself. Most products are just meh. They're fine. Like they exist, they get made, they're fine, whatever. So they have to reach a certain level of interest or being really good to even be considered for a review. Or sometimes really, really bad. So there's been a lot of interesting discourse lately on this topic. There will be, some negative reviews, and then a company will eventually go out of business. And the internet poses the question, do bad reviews kill companies? Do bad reviews kill companies? Or do bad products kill companies? I do have a lot of thoughts. So two of the biggest examples that have been pointed to, especially on Twitter, were the Fisker Ocean review that I did and the Humane AI pin from a couple of days ago. So the Fisker saga was pretty well documented, but in case you missed it, I reviewed a car, had a pretty horrible experience with it, documented it, published the review on the autofocus channel, and then a few months later, the entire company appears to be on life support, like likely filing for bankruptcy soon. And now this startup, Humane, they dropped their first product, this pin. I review it. It's not super positive. A lot of people are saying the same thing. And I don't even think Humane is going anywhere, by the way. But I think there is some pretty simple logic we can use to decipher what the real danger is to these companies, which is, do you still get a bunch of negative reviews and then die as a company if the product is actually really good? But let's back up for a second. What is a review? Little pet peeve of mine is I think people misuse or overuse that word a lot, but a review is just somebody use the product and then just delivers their impressions on whether they think it's any good or not, how well it actually worked, and if their honest opinion is if it's good, then that's the review. If it's bad, that's the review. That's basically it. And so I've been an advocate of good independent reviews for what feels like forever now. But the thing about reviews is, if they're not honest, then they're basically useless. I really strongly feel like everything that comes from a review, all the consequences and everything that comes around it, everything in the world of an ecosystem of reviews, depends on the review being truthful and actually honest about things. So I'll just give an example. I've told the story before, but years ago I remember I reviewed the first Razer phone when it came out. So Razer, gaming company, they make lots of stuff. They're getting into smartphones for the first time, so they made a phone that appeals to the same target demographic of gamers. So, it had a bunch of upsides and downsides. Obviously, gaming-focused features, so it's got like front-facing speakers and a high refresh rate. The battery is pretty big, but also the camera was weak. And I remember the vibration motor was horrible, and I remember calling it out. I remember saying this. Also, the vibration motor in this phone, trash. Straight trash. I'm gonna call myself so you can hear this. It sounds broken, but it sounded that way out the box since day one. So that is the Razer phone. Just one of the worst vibration motors I've ever experienced in a new phone. So, okay, fast forward a year, right? I'm at a briefing. It's in New York City. It's for the Razer Phone 2. And so they're walking me and some other people through this new phone they've made, and they've got a bunch of changes. It's got a glossy back. They added wireless charging now. The logo glows, and the speakers are better and all this stuff. And they're talking us through it, and then the guy turns to me and he says, "And Marquez, you've got to try the new vibration motor in this phone." And it's such a niche thing, but sure enough, I try it, and it's way better. And that's, to me, that's a big part of what reviews are all about. That honest feedback turned into actually action for the company to make it better. So people who bought the first one knew what they were getting into, and people who bought the second one actually benefited from that. So that's number one. Honesty, obviously, super important. But the second thing is these reviews are also definitely for the people that are watching them and consuming them. So you've probably been in a situation when you're about to buy something and you just want to double check. So you hop on YouTube, you search it up, watch a couple of videos about the product just to make sure you're not missing anything. And then you either decide on the moment or later that day, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to buy it. We've all been there. That's the reason. That's exactly how this YouTube channel started. My first ever tech video was reviewing a laptop, but specifically I bought the laptop with my allowance money in high school, and I found a Windows Media Center remote in the PCI slot that wasn't in any of the other reviews. So the first thing I decided to do was talk through it in a video so that anyone else who bought the laptop after me would know about it. So you're thinking about buying a thing, you watch a couple reviews of the thing, you learn everything you need to know, boom, success. But here's where it gets a little bit interesting. I do have a bit of an extra dimension on my hands with these videos because I know that there's no way that every single person watching a review of every single product is one of those people who was considering buying it. I get that comment actually in person all the time. I watch the reviews even though I'm not buying any of this stuff. So I know that a lot of people, in fact most people watching these videos, are actually just here to watch an interesting informative, good video in general, and an entertaining video. And so the way that I satisfy those things is much more subjective, I think. Like, everyone has a different way they do it, everyone has a different target demographic, but that's a little bit of a new dimension. So then I think if we go back to the original question, so can a video kill company? I'll use the Humane and Fisker examples specifically. The Fisker Ocean was a terrible car. It is a terrible car. I've reviewed about 40, 50 different cars in the past few years, made videos about many of them. This is the first one where I genuinely couldn't wait to be done driving it. Like, it just had tons of problems, bugs, missing features, safety issues. Like, it's just bad, right? So I review the thing. I give people what I feel is a fair assessment that also doubles as a warning not to buy this bad car. So hopefully it's entertaining and informative to the majority of people who weren't thinking about buying the car, but also that it is as honest as possible with the people who are. And maybe a week or two later, the company's stock price is plummeting to an all-time low, and they appear to be like filing for bankruptcy. Cue the internet going nuts, which I guess I get it. Like, obviously it makes a nice headline, like, oh, this review came out and it killed this company. This review bankrupted all of Fisker, maybe. Like, there was a whole Morning Brew thread on how Fisker handled this video so poorly that they're now going to go bankrupt because of it. Also, there were whole stock investments theme channels saying this was like a paid, promoted attack against the Fisker stock price. Like, it got pretty crazy. But did one review kill the entire company? I would say, to zoom out a bit, I think it's important to zoom out a bit, actually. First of all, I was not the only one to review the car, not even close. And so yes, the stock price did drop after my video, but the stock was in free fall for many, many months before my video too. And if you zoom out on YouTube or in the car review space in general, I was far from the only person saying these things about the car for all of these months. Many other reviewers had been having a plethora of issues, even stuff that I didn't have with this thing. I feel like that might be the easiest way to tell if a review is honest or not. Like, we're all reviewing the same product, basically. If we all have the same thing, so we're all going to find a lot of the same things. We're all eventually going to have a lot of the same upsides, downsides. If there are issues, they may eventually surface. So yeah, they're probably going to agree with each other. A bunch of honest reviews. They'll all say a lot of the same stuff. Oh, and also in the US, the stock price, there's this thing where if a stock, what is it? If it's below a dollar for however many days in a row, then they'll get a warning that they may be delisted, and they have 6 months to get the stock price back up over $1. And Fisker had just received that notice right around the same time I think right before my video came out, actually. And if you're an investor, you're looking at that. That's the type of stuff that really tanks the stock price, if you're asking me. And if you're asking me personally, I literally don't care what the stock price is of any company, of any product I review. I just don't care. And so if I'm talking about a product, that will never have anything to do with what I say about the product. And I hope that's not true about other people either. I shouldn't even have to say this. I'm not invested in any companies.
Either a rumor or a report. It is now time for the Rumor Report. Now on the Spectrum Podcast.
Mike Will Made It criticizes rappers for remaking classic songs. Mike Will Made It is one of the defining producers of the 2010s. He helped to cultivate the sound of an entire generation of artists, courtesy of his hard-hitting sound and his signature tag. Mike Will's profile has lessened in recent years, as he stepped back to focus on the artists signed to his record label. He had something to get off his chest May 16th, however. The Atlanta producer got on X, formerly Twitter, to complain about the current state of hitmaking. According to him, artists have gotten lazy. The critique came in two parts. The first saw Mike Will Made It call out artists who simply remake iconic songs. Sick of hearing remakes, he tweeted. Nothing like original SHXT. The second message pointed out the trend of older artists agreeing to hop on the remake of their own song. Please don't feature on your classic remake, he added. It's a pet peeve of mine. The producer didn't mention any names, but there are plenty of recent examples. Usher hopped on Summer Walker's Come Through, which sampled his 1997 single You Make Me Wanna. Then there's Fergie, who performed alongside Jack Harlow at the VMAs when he sampled Glamorous on his radio hit, First Class. Mike Will Made It is tired of this trend. He doesn't blame the record labels, either, he blames the artists. In his estimation, the labels don't care about the music so long as they are moving units. They just put the SHXT on the shelf, he wrote in a separate tweet. It's on the production company or the independent artist. Mike Will wasn't the only producer who voiced their frustration. Sunny Digital, another 2010 stalwart, backed up the claim. He quote-tweeted Mike Will and added, "I swear I don't respect anybody remaking a song that's already a hit and then act like they made a hit from a song that was already a hit." Here's hoping more high-profile artists take note of what these producers are saying and attempt more original music.
You're in the mix on the Spectrum podcast presented by K.L.P. Entertainment.
So I really rather liked OnePlus's iPad rival, which it launched last year, the imaginatively titled OnePlus Pad. But if you can't quite stretch to the OnePlus Pad, well, they've just released a more budget-friendly version here in the UK, the OnePlus Pad Go, which will cost you almost £100 less than the regular tablet. And so they get quite a few 6-packs of Stella for that. But to slash the price, OnePlus has also had to slash the specs a bit. So the OnePlus Pad Go makes quite a few sacrifices, including to the performance and to that gorgeous screen tech. I've been testing out the OnePlus Pad Go for about a week now, so here's my in-depth review, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers. So let's start with the design, and I gotta say the OnePlus Pad Go doesn't look or feel like a cheapy, crappy tablet. Let's say Go model is a wee bit more compact than the original OnePlus Pad at 11.3 inches, once again weighs just over half a kilo. And those bezels surrounding that display are pretty much the perfect size, not too chunky but just about thick enough so you can comfortably grip this tablet. It's not quite compact enough to wrap your entire hand around the back, not unless you've got hands like Andre the friggin' Giant. And the majority of that frame is once again metal, although this time around for the OnePlus Pad Go you've got a jazzier two-tone effect, with what appears to be a glossy plastic strip up top here. Unfortunately this does get very, very smudgy indeed. It's an absolute muck magnet, all the grime and dust and dirt and filth just instantly attracted to this thing, so you'll constantly be wiping it down unless you obviously do not give a shit. Thankfully, the frosted metal bit of the frame does a pretty good job of repelling all those fingerprints and other bits of grimness. And like the original OnePlus Pad tablet, you've got a single colour option with the Go model, and that's this here twin mint effort. Now, somewhat surprisingly, the OnePlus Pad Go comes with OxygenOS 13.2 on it, slapped on top of Android 13. You don't get the latest, freshest Android 14 action here. When you consider that Android 15 is already in beta, that's pretty slack from OnePlus really. Although they are promising a couple of years of OS and Android updates, just Christ knows when they'll actually come. Like the original OnePlus Pad, there's no fingerprint sensor built into the display or the power button or anything, so you are basically relying on face unlock, which thankfully is nice and nippy and reliable as well. As you can see there, you basically straight in. You can set it so your eyes have to be open for face unlock to work, though still not as secure as the likes of a fingerprint sensor. And on the OnePlus Pad Go, the software experience is essentially the exact same as what you'll get on the regular OnePlus Pad. All of the best OxygenOS bits are still in there, including, of course, the good old shelf. Still not optimized for tablet displays, but packed to the tits with helpful widgets means you don't have to have them cluttered all over your desktops. You got your wee drag out thingy, the sidebar or whatever it's called. And the storage is a wee bit miserly. OnePlus is offering up to 128 gigs of this stuff, so not much at all. But in better news, you can actually slip in micro SD memory cards up to a terabyte in size using this handy wee slot up top. And multitasking and everything works in basically the same way. Again, you've got this dock which is permanently housed down at the bottom of the screen. On the right side, you've got your most recently used apps. You can quickly skip back into those if you want to, and the rest of the dock can be fully customized. You can stick in your favorite apps there for fast access. It's just a case of drag and drop, nice and easy. When you're actually in an app, you can pop up the dock just by long pressing down here at the bottom edge of the screen. If you want to get some split screening on the go, just drag another app in like so, and you can quickly and easily resize the windows. And you can also change up which apps are displayed with a quick tap at this little bar up here. So let's get the Play Store on the go, for example. You can also get a full-on threesome on the go by dragging to the middle-ish here and letting go, and then you've got a bit of floating window action. And if you've got yourself a OnePlus smartphone where you got the same seamless sharing of your files and apps and such forth, but unfortunately the OnePlus Pad Go does not support that keyboard or the stylus from the original OnePlus Pad. And that is a massive shame, because the keyboard especially I found really helpful on the OnePlus Pad. Basically just turned this thing into a mini laptop. Really good for smashing out a quick bit of work, or replying to emails or whatever on the go. And OnePlus has also made some sacrifices when it comes to the display tech. So you've got an 11.3 inch LCD panel here, slightly smaller than the regular OnePlus Pad. It's not quite as crispy. They're 24:8 by 1720 pixel resolutions, that's 260 pixels per inch. But yeah, it's still good enough for editing photos on the fly. Your movies will still look good. It is once again a rather square aspect ratio, quite a wide display, so well suited to the likes of web browsing. Although if you are relaxing with a movie, you will get some pretty chunky letterboxing on the go. And while the contrast is fairly respectable for an LCD panel, there's no HDR support in the likes of Netflix and other streaming services. And I did find that the OnePlus Pad Go's display is rather on the warm side as well, to the point where I kept thinking that the eye comfort mode had accidentally been activated. I made sure that was all turned off. I've actually gone into the screen color mode and I've bumped it all the way down into the cooler end, because as you see in default mode, it's quite a red hue. Especially if you leave it in the default vivid mode. If you bump it to natural, that sort of cools things down a bit. Yeah, something seems to take that blue light filtering to the next level. And the brightness of the OnePlus Pad Go screen also not quite as powerful as what you get on the original OnePlus Pad. Maxes out at around 400 nits. So certainly if there's any glare in the room, you'll struggle to see what's going on when watching murky affair. And even just browsing the web or replying to emails or whatever is a bit tricky at times when you're outdoors, got a bit of glare reflecting off that glossy surface. And the refresh rate has also been scaled back a wee bit from 144Hz to 90Hz, but the display still seems pretty fluid when you're just zipping around in Oxygen OS or whatever. And the OnePlus Pad Go once again boasts a quad speaker setup. We've got a bit of Dolby Atmos action built in as well. And when you boost up that volume, it's certainly plenty powerful. Let's give it a go. Checking out Huawei's latest tech, as well as knocking back enough singing out to drown a hippo. And eating so much sweet and sour that my would have probably exploded in Geiger counter. So yeah, it really doesn't matter how raucous your household is, even with lots of kids in the background doing their level best to absolutely destroy your eardrums, you should still be able to comfortably hear your bit of Netflix, bit of YouTube action, whatever. And you got the usual aptX, LDAC, etc. support when you are streaming over Bluetooth to a speaker or a pair of headphones, which you will have to do if you want a bit of privacy, by the way, because there's no headphone jack, unfortunately, anywhere on this tablet. It's either Type-C, dongle action all the way, otherwise, yeah, wireless streaming. And on the front end of the OnePlus Pad Go, you've got yourself an 8-megapixel selfie camera, same as the regular OnePlus Pad tablet. And it's once again centrally positioned as well when you're holding the tablet in that landscape mode, so really good for your video chats and such forth. Actually looks like you're vaguely staring at that camera lens. It captures you in Full HD 1080p at up to 30 frames per second, and the image quality is okay, you're perfectly fine for those video chats. There's bug roll stabilization, of course, so got to keep your hands reasonably still while you're holding the tablet. And the built-in mic's doing an okay job of picking up your voice. I did find that if I had strayed a little bit from the tablet, I put it down and walked a few feet away, then people generally couldn't hear me very well, so you do have to be up close and personal to use those. And yes, you do once again have a camera slapped on the back end of the OnePlus Pad Go, which I still don't really know why. If you're using a tablet to take photos or shoot video, then frankly, you're a bit of a randoman. And as for performance, well, running the show here on the OnePlus Pad Go is MediaTek's Helio G99 chipset. It's a good couple of years old now, and adjectives you certainly wouldn't throw at it would be the likes of beefy, powerful, trouser-rousing. There's the Geekbench scores if you care about any of that. And the performance is absolutely fine. Occasionally you will see some lag here and there when you go to open an app or do some split screening or something. But absolutely nothing too troublesome. And yeah, if you are a gamer, you probably want to upgrade to a different tablet, because you can play a basic bit of PUBG or Call of Duty or something like that on here. Certainly don't expect to be running, Genshin Impact on high detail settings or anything. Although having said that, Oxygen OS still boasts that rather nifty gaming mode. Could give you a bit of a helping hand by boosting that performance when needed, blocking notifications, tweaking the screen sensitivity, etc. And given the dinkier dimensions of the OnePlus Pad Go compared with the original OnePlus Pad tablet, it's no real shock that the battery capacity is also slightly shrunk, although only to 8,000 mAh, so not too bad. And the rather splendid news is that I actually found the battery life is slightly better here on the OnePlus Pad Go, probably because of the more energy efficient MediaTek Helio chipset that's stuffed inside. So if you're streaming video, you'll get a solid 13 to 14-ish hours of playback, no worries. And a full charge will easily last you a day, whatever you're up to, so certainly well suited to those long trips for keeping the kids occupied on a plane for 12 friggin' hours or whatever. Sadly, however, you do lose the fast charging capabilities of the regular OnePlus Pad, so you got 33 watt charging here. So we'll need to bung a cable in it for well over an hour in order to get a full charge again. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is what I reckon of the OnePlus Pad Go after using it for just over.
You're in the mix on the Spectrum podcast presented by K.L.P. Entertainment.